Don't skip. If your life were a vast maze, each intersection a decision switching to a new job or staying loyal, loving someone or letting go, investing money in a financial project or putting it in savings, what path would you choose? Have you ever found yourself pausing in the tall-walled corridors of pressure, disappointment, worry, or loneliness and wondered, am I on the right path? Could just one small choice change everything? This isn't just your question. Every person in the hectic current of studies, career, relationships and family has at least once felt lost and confused at a crossroads of destiny. Even in moments that seem most hopeless, you still hold the key. When you're calm enough to reflect, brave enough to face your wounds, and clear-headed sufficient to listen to your inner voice, you'll realize that every maze has an exit, and that first step always begins from within. Watch to the end of this video because you'll receive practical principles and new perspectives to help you navigate life, make wise decisions, overcome crisis, and find inner peace. Don't miss it, because sometimes just one small idea can create a big turning point on your path. Truly know yourself and your psychological structure. 1. Truly know yourself and your psychological structure. Imagine yourself as a vast ocean. On the surface, everything seems calm and peaceful, yet in the hidden depths, powerful currents quietly move within you. Most people only notice the small waves above. Little success, minor failure, sudden irritation, or a moment of sadness. But your real strength, your true peace, and even your quiet fears live far below the surface, in those deeper waters where emotions, instincts, and old memories rest, silently waiting for you to notice them and transform them. Have you ever asked yourself, why do I know what's right but still can't do it? Or why do I keep repeating old mistakes even when I try so hard? The truth is, the solution isn't just about willpower, but in understanding your own psychological structure. Humans aren't just machines analyzing right and wrong. Inside you is a silent conversation between primal instincts and higher reason. Biologically, the hypothalamus governs emotions, impulses, and survival instincts, while the prefrontal cortex is the center of self-control, patience, and planning. Imagine it's a horse-drawn carriage. Emotions are wild horses. Reason is the driver. If you just tighten the reins, sooner or later you'll get tired and break down. But when you understand, communicate, and know how to guide, everything works powerfully together towards your goals. It isn't easy to peel back your own layers. Looking deep means facing what you feared, selfish desires, and lingering memories. But each layer you remove brings a valuable lesson. This isn't a journey for perfection, but about learning to appreciate every part of yourself, even the darkest corners. Philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. You cannot control the world, but you can always choose to understand, redefine your feelings, and know yourself. Start by observing yourself daily like a curious friend without judgment. When you're angry, instead of suppressing it or feeling guilty, ask, what is this anger protecting? When you procrastinate, ask, what part of me is afraid? Just a few minutes recording your thoughts and feelings, and you'll gradually notice repeating patterns, beliefs that influence your choices. If possible, find a friend, mentor, or community to share this journey. Listening and reflecting will help you understand yourself far more than questioning alone. Don't fear those unspoken depths. Step down bravely, look directly, and patiently transform each part into strength. In that process, you become the driver of your life, steering every feeling with calm, courage, and clarity. And remember, the journey to self-standing isn't a short road, but a lifelong adventure. The wonderful thing is, you're not alone. Anyone reading this is already or will be swimming their own deep ocean. Begin today with an honest question, a short journal entry, or a deep moment of listening. When you dare to face yourself, you will be strong enough to choose your direction. And that self-knowledge is the very first key to unlock every door in your life. 2. Shape your character through socialization and personal discipline. Socialization and personal discipline. There's a truth many people avoid. The personality you show today isn't fixed, nor is it a natural gift. It's the result of thousands of bumps and reflections with family, teachers, friends, colleagues, and the wider society. If each person is a rough gem, then socialization is the constant polishing, shaping each facet, piecing together fragments into a stable, strong character. But socialization doesn't mean becoming a perfect copy of others or always pleasing the crowd. It's a long journey of learning, experiencing, sometimes failing and conflicting, helping you see the boundary between your own self and your responsibilities to the community. Often, it's the most difficult clashes, the conflicts or failures in relationships that are the deepest tests, showing you where to stand firm and when to adapt. If socialization is the external force that forms your character, then personal discipline is the internal power that keeps you from being swept away by others. A mature person isn't someone who pleases everyone, but who understands their own values, manages emotions, maintains good habits, and takes responsibility for their choices. Look at Michael Phelps, and you'll see this clearly. He wasn't born with special advantages, but with discipline and the will to rise above his environment. Phelps became the greatest swimmer in Olympic history. Since childhood, his mother and coach Bob Bowman built his discipline, swimming 6 days a week, 50 meters a week, holidays or injury alike. Bowman once said, "No one gets far without discipline, the discipline of work, of sacrifice." For Phelps, discipline wasn't about giving up joy, but building small habits daily, waking early, eating right, and swimming on time like bricks paving the road to his dreams. Each lap, each hour of training shaped his character, resilient, persistent, focused on long-term goals over short-term temptations. You, too, you don't need to dream of being an Olympic athlete, but you do need a map for your journey to becoming yourself. Character isn't built in a day or from a few inspiring books. It comes from a string of days keeping promises to yourself, daring to leave old habits, and choosing again when you get lost. Society is a mirror to adjust. Yourself, but only you choose which values to uphold, which habits to cultivate, and what to leave behind. If some days you feel lost in the crowd or uncertain while holding your principles amid so many voices, remember that true maturity comes from listening to yourself, learning from others, but not dissolving into the masses. Stoicism teaches that virtue and courage are not born from comfort, but grow through steady practice. Like Marcus Aurelius, who remained calm amid palace storms, never compromising his core values under pressure. The key is not waiting for society's approval, but starting with small disciplines, managing your schedule, learning new skills, maintaining positive habits, and keeping your promises to yourself each day. Seek out environments, communities, and friends aligned with your values, just as Phelps had a coach. You too need companions, mentors, and sources of inspiration to keep growing. As you patiently build discipline and learn through relationships, your character strengthens and balances between self and society. The path is not easy, yet it is these daily challenges, choices, and efforts that forge a strong, self-reliant, and trustworthy you, in your own eyes first, then in the world's. Act now. Every small step can become a firm foundation for your journey to becoming who you truly wish to be. 3. Set big goals and build a set big goals and build a long-term vision. Long-term vision. Have you ever solved a Rubik's Cube? Sometimes you turn it a few times and one side is perfect, feeling satisfied with your progress, but just one wrong twist and it's all scrambled again. That's a lot like how people live. Endlessly solving small parts of life, chasing KPIs, getting raises, upgrading cars, achieving milestones, only to realize you're still stuck, lost, and unfulfilled. We're busy, sometimes working as hard as we can, but still feel no closer to what really matters. The truth is, the human brain is built for goals. When you identify a big, meaningful goal, your brain automatically triggers motivation, focus, and endurance. But if your goals are too small, just for temporary comfort, you'll lose drive whenever you hit obstacles or failures. That's why so many around you, including yourself, can be constantly busy, yet still feel empty. The key is to find your meta goal, the ultimate purpose guiding every decision. It's not just about making more money, owning a nice house, or climbing to the top, but about what gets you up in the morning, building a happy family, living with purpose for your community, and becoming the best version of yourself. When you know why you do what you do, daily choices start forming a coherent life map. That big goal gives you the power to resist short-term temptations and push through setbacks because you know you're heading toward what really matters. I've been lost among countless expectations, family, friends, society, then putting checklists on myself. Must succeed, must achieve. But every time I checked off another win, emptiness returned, like I was turning just one side of the Rubik's Cube while the rest got messier. Only when I asked myself if I had just 1 year left, what do I want to leave behind? Did I see the bigger map of my life? I realized I longed to create meaningful relationships, grow to bring real value to others instead of chasing short-term achievements. Once I defined my vision, every small goal, a book, a skill, a decision to overcome laziness, became a brick in my bigger journey. Setting big goals isn't about pressuring yourself to be a superhum or obsessing over perfection. It's the art of choosing a meaning big enough to guide you even in your lowest moments. A big goal doesn't have to be world-changing. Sometimes it's just being a good parent or bringing positive change to your friends, your workplace. Neuroscience shows when you break big goals into clear steps, each one achieved triggers dopamine, keeping you excited to move forward. But if your main goal is too easy or meaningless, this dopamine runs dry fast, leaving you bored and lost. The solution is clear. Dare to ask yourself big questions. Don't be afraid to dig deep into your desires. Who do I want to be in 10 years? What makes me proudest of myself? If I fail, what can I learn to move forward? Write down your meta goal. Keep it where you see it often. Break it into clear steps and regularly check every choice against that goal. Big goals are the motivation that takes you further than any limit. They are the fire that keeps you growing, inspiring your whole community. When you know where you're going, you'll patiently get through disappointment, see clearly through temporary successes, and have the courage to start over if needed. Believe me, a long-term vision isn't reserved for a special few. It's the result of daring to question yourself, experiment, stumble, and always get up again. Allow yourself to dream big, and more importantly, live. Worthy of that dream every day in every small choice. You will be the one to solve your own Rubik's Cube of life. Embrace challenges and take responsibility. 4. Embrace challenges and take responsibility. Have you ever asked yourself, if life were a movie, which character would you want to be? Would you be the bystander, simply watching things unfold, or would you dare to take the lead role, ready to face challenges even when the road ahead is uncertain? The truth is, many people grow up haunted by the fear of risk, of making mistakes, of failure. So they always pick the predictable route, take on small responsibilities, and hope things will work out on their own. But no journey of growth is absolutely safe. True change and growth only begin when you're brave enough to step out of your comfort zone, embrace responsibility, accept challenges, and treat them as the most worthwhile adventure of your life. The image of Abraham from the Bible has always inspired me. He left his homeland, let go of the familiar, following a call to adventure without even knowing where it would lead. Abraham didn't wait until everything was certain. He didn't wait for someone to say he was ready. He took responsibility for himself and for future generations. And thanks to his courage and willingness to sacrifice, he left behind a timeless legacy. That is a message to everyone standing at a crossroads. Don't shrink away from challenges. See them as an invitation to adventure. With each decision you make, writing a new chapter in your life story. You may have heard the song Hall of Fame, the script FD Will I Am. You can be a champion. You can break rocks. You can be a master. Don't wait for luck. Dedicate yourself, and you're going to find yourself standing in the Hall of Fame. This is not just a victory anthem, but a reminder. Glory is not for those who sit and wait for perfect timing, but for those who throw themselves into the journey, unafraid of stumbling, unafraid to shoulder great responsibility. Why do so many people fear responsibility? Because it always comes with pressure, risk, and sometimes the fear of judgment or hurting loved ones. But think again. Life is never completely certain, and growing up is not a safe state. It's a process of constantly opening up to challenges, learning and growing from each stumble. You can start small, accept a tough assignment at work, step up to resolve a conflict, take the lead in your group, or simply speak up for what you believe in when others hesitate. Each time you're building a solid foundation to face bigger adventures in the future. Don't let fear control you. Ask yourself, if I see this challenge as a necessary part of growing up, what can I learn? When you see responsibility not as a burden, but as a privilege, you'll be more proactive and creative, and you'll realize your true value within the community. A practical tip: write down every time you dare to take responsibility, regardless of the outcome. Be proud that you tried, made mistakes, fixed them, and grew, because that's the real meaning of being an adult. Every success begins with those trembling moments of facing a challenge. Don't just be a side character in someone else's story. Be yourself. Dare to step forward and take responsibility and write your own unique adventure. In the end, remember, life is not what happens, but how you respond to the call of adventure with courage, initiative, and a heart always ready to learn, change, and outgrow yourself. If you want to reach your own heights, start by daring to take the first challenge. That journey may not be easy, but it will be the one most worth living. Now, answer this. If life were a movie, which character would you choose to be? Share your choice and reason in the comments. Your story might just inspire many others searching for the courage to step out of their comfort zones, the value of sacrifice, discipline, and small beginnings. 5. The value of sacrifice, discipline, and small beginnings. Once upon a time there was a woodcutter who lived at the edge of a great forest. Each morning he would set out with only his small axe, carrying nothing but patience and perseverance. Villagers laughed at him. How can such a tiny axe accomplish anything in such a vast forest? But he ignored their mockery. He quietly chopped dead branches, cleared small paths. Over the years, the path he opened became the safest and broadest road in the region. When asked for his secret, he simply smiled and said, "No one can chop down an entire forest in one day, but every single chop matters." This simple story holds one of the most important truths we adults often forget. No achievement begins as greatness. Everything is built from small steps, silent sacrifices, and repeated discipline. We tend to focus on others' results: a stable career, a healthy body, a peaceful family, a calm mind, and forget that behind every achievement are thousands of tiny acts of self-denial, small sacrifices for long-term value. Sacrifice is not loss. It's choosing to give up the small for the sake of something greater. You sacrifice 30 minutes of scrolling for a chapter of reading. You give up laziness to exercise, temporary comfort to tidy your room, finish overdue work, or fix the way you live. Each choice quietly creates a special kind of freedom, the freedom to control yourself and steer your life according to your values. Stoic philosophy has reminded us of this for millennia. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. It's not that we lack ability, but that we give in to little habits that fragment our lives." Discipline isn't meaningless force. It's the art of smart selection, daring to cut what's unnecessary, delay instant pleasure to invest in what truly matters. Many think change requires something big, launching a project, switching careers, or moving somewhere new. But what builds endurance is the small victory each day. Tidying your desk, organizing your space, 10 minutes of exercise, a few lines of journaling, or reading 15 minutes instead of mindlessly scrolling on social media. These are the foundation stones. Our brains respond powerfully to small progress. Each completed task releases dopamine, making you feel confident, in control, and energized. Neuroscience proves that small but consistent habits create the most lasting changes. Of course, there will be days when you feel like giving up, when it seems your efforts lead nowhere. But remember the woodcutter. He never tried to fell the entire forest in a single day. He simply kept chopping, and each swing gradually cleared the way, creating a path for which the whole village would one day be grateful. Your journey is the same. Perseverance may not create instant miracles, but it lays down the path you'll later thank yourself for not abandoning. You can start with a small, gentle, but powerful checklist. Choose one small, positive action to keep every day. Celebrate every small win, even if it's just tidying your desk, finishing on time, or saying thank you. When things get tough, ask, what small thing am I giving up for a bigger goal? Don't underestimate the value of small beginnings. Let each sacrifice, each bit of discipline, however tiny, be the solid bricks of your greater journey. The first steps may be simple, but they open the broad path you'll one day walk with pride. All you need is to start the rest, and perseverance will handle. 6. Social connection and escaping. Social connection and escaping superstimuli. Superstimuli. Have you ever felt lost in a crowd, even as voices and notifications buzz all around? How many times have you picked up your phone just to relax a bit, only to realize hours have passed and you're left mentally drained and empty? Don't think you're alone. Behind this feeling is a deep rule of the brain. Humans, like all animals, are extremely sensitive to what are called superstimuli, exaggerated triggers that make our instincts overreact. Hear the story of Nobel Prize-winning biologist Nico Tinbergen. He discovered that male stickleback fish will attack a wooden model with a bright red belly even more fiercely than a real rival. Mother birds can abandon their real eggs to sit on a fake, super-sized, brightly colored egg. For humans, we're increasingly drawn into hyper-real pleasures, filtered selfies, sensational news, fast food, addictive video games and social media, all engineered to deliver quick thrills. These superstimuli hijack our brain's motivational system, making us lose direction, lose self-control, and ultimately feel empty, even while connected all day. When you get used to instant satisfaction, your brain finds it harder and harder to find lasting joy in simple things. Big goals and long-term visions drift away, while loneliness and exhaustion grow, even though you always seem busy and online. This isn't just your personal story, but the struggle of our whole modern society. Research by Haltlad and colleagues at Brigham Young University shows people with quality social connections increase their chance of survival by 50%, lower their risk of chronic disease and depression more effectively than quitting smoking or losing weight. In contrast, toxic social isolation is as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, even riskier than a sedentary lifestyle or being overweight. We are programmed to live in community. Moments of eating with family, chatting with friends, joining a group, a hug, a pat on the back, and an understanding look truly fill you up and energize you. This isn't just mental medicine. Modern doctors now prescribe social activity as an important therapy for health and longevity. Look at your own habits. How much time a day do you spend on social media and instant entertainment? How long since you called an old friend, sat down for an unhurried dinner with family, or shared your true feelings with someone outside a screen? The truth is, only when you dare to detox from these superstimuli can you regain control and rediscover happiness in real connections. A smile, a look, a handshake, a sincere encouragement. Set a goal each day to talk directly with at least one person, not just through a screen. Join a club, a volunteer group, or simply invite someone out for coffee, share a laugh, or discuss a real interest. Each time you do, you're retraining your brain, reawakening your social instincts, And most importantly, you're truly living, not just existing in a digital world. Building real social connections takes effort, sometimes a sacrifice of time and comfort, but in return you gain the power of community, a sense of belonging, shared support, and a sustainable drive that nothing else can replace. Remember, connection is medicine, the strongest remedy to live healthier, deeper, and more resilient every day. Ready to challenge yourself? Join me in the Real Connection Challenge today. Put down your phone for at least 30 minutes. Call an old friend, invite someone for coffee, or simply enjoy a meal with family without distractions. Just one such action a day, and you'll soon find yourself calmer, happier, and truly connected with those who matter most. Share your experiences, photos, or feelings about this challenge in the comments below. You won't just change your own habits, you might inspire others to step out of the digital world and live more fully every day. Listen to your conscience and intuition. 7. Listen to your conscience and intuition. Conscience and intuition are like your inner compass, quiet but steady, always pointing you in the right direction through life's countless crossroads. You've probably heard all about logic and rational decisions, the choices we weigh by analyzing facts and figures. But at certain moments when faced with a difficult decision, a small voice inside may ring louder than any logic. That's when your conscience speaks. Your intuition nudges, or a deep inner calling makes itself heard. Have you ever wondered how to tell the difference between what you truly want and what's simply the influence of others, family, society, or other people's expectations? Let me tell you about Chris, a friend I'll never forget. Chris was the classic good person, principled, always striving to meet his family's and colleagues' expectations. Every morning he made detailed plans, set clear goals, and worked diligently. But the harder he tried, the emptier he felt, as if living someone else's life, chasing after ideals that weren't his own. There came a time when Chris faced a major decision. Continue down the safe, predetermined career path, or take a leap toward the field he'd secretly loved since childhood, a path he'd always talked himself out of fear of failure, of disappointing those he loved. The night before making his choice, Chris couldn't sleep. His mind was a battle of logic versus intuition. In the end, he did something simple. Turned off his phone, sat alone in the dark, letting every thought drift away until all that remained was his breath and the deepest feeling in his heart. For the first time, Chris truly heard his inner voice and discovered that the simple joy he'd known as a child had never left, only been buried by layers of pressure and fear. Chris chose to listen to his conscience and take a new direction. That decision didn't make everything easy. He had to start over, learn, face criticism, and sometimes felt lonely or doubtful. But the one thing he never lost was the peace that comes from living authentically and daring to pursue what he truly believes is right and meaningful. You see, conscience and intuition aren't magic powers that appear in feel-good movies. They're the result of actively, honestly listening to yourself. Neuroscience has shown that meditation, journaling, or simply taking time to reflect each day strengthens the parts of your brain responsible for self-awareness and emotional regulation. This makes it easier to recognize your core values, real goals, and quickly realign yourself when you go off track. Practicing this isn't difficult, but it does require patience and courage. Start small. Each night before bed, Spend 5 minutes with your eyes closed and quietly ask yourself about a decision from your day. Whenever you feel pressured, disconnect from social media, get outside, take a slow walk, and let your inner voice have a chance to speak. Try journaling your feelings, writing down your thoughts and flashes of intuition, then reread them later. You'll be surprised at how much you knew all along. If only you were quiet enough to listen, sometimes your conscience may remind you of uncomfortable things, a mistake, an unfinished task, or a dream you've set aside. But these moments are your chance to grow, to make amends, or to restart your journey toward living true to yourself. Don't let your life pass in silence with your inner calling ignored. Start today. Learn to listen to and honor your inner compass, because only when you're true to yourself will every decision, every step you take carry real meaning and lead you toward lasting happiness. Learn from failure and commit to lifelong growth. 8. Learn from failure and commit to lifelong growth. Imagine you're standing in a giant laboratory. Not the lab of some famous scientist, but the lab of life that's uniquely yours. In front of you are hundreds of test tubes, each representing a decision, a choice, a hope. Some tubes bring beautiful results, others explode in smoke, sparks, or bad smells. Those are your failures. But who among us hasn't set off an explosion at least once in life? Sadly, many people grow up terrified of failure. They see it as taboo, a sign of weakness, something to be avoided at all costs. But the truth is, no one grows up without stumbling, making mistakes, or being disappointed. It's like a toddler learning to walk. If you're so scared of falling, you never try. How could you ever grow? How could you explore the world? The key is to change your perspective. Don't see failure as the end. Treat it as feedback, a signal to understand your limits. See what needs adjusting and learn new lessons. Psychologists call this the growth mindset, an attitude built on curiosity, the courage to admit mistakes, and a relentless drive to improve. When you see every failure as a lesson, you become lighter, less afraid, and more willing to try again. There's a beautiful truth. Even God or whatever, higher power you believe in, didn't make humans to know everything right away. Mistakes and stumbles are our opportunities to learn how to stand up, to correct our course, to reinvent ourselves every day. If life were a song, every wrong note would help create a melody uniquely your own. Keep a heart as curious as a scientist, always asking why, always willing to admit mistakes so you can change. Curiosity not only helps you overcome the sting of failure, but also opens new doors of thinking, creativity, and confidence. Don't become that stubborn adult trapped in old beliefs, afraid of change. Watch children, they ask, experiment, explore, and their world is limitless. Look at history. The most successful people are also the ones who failed most often. Thomas Edison said he didn't fail 10,000 times making the light bulb. He found 10,000 ways that didn't work. Walt Disney, J.K. Rowling both rejected, broke, and doubted themselves. Their secret: they never equated their worth with their failures. They learned, adapted, persisted, and kept rising. You can start with a simple learning journal. Each day, jot down one thing you could have done better, one thing you learned, and one question you still have. Don't be afraid to admit what you don't know. Admitting ignorance is the first step to growth. Don't hesitate to share your failures with others. You'll not only grow, but also inspire those around you. And above all, give yourself time and patience. If you believe in God, Consider each failure a test shaping your humility, resilience, and desire to improve. If not, trust that there's always a deep well of motivation inside you to keep learning and changing as long as you stay curious and committed to growth. Remember, failure does not make you small. Only refusing to learn, refusing curiosity, and refusing to try is true defeat. Treat every day as a new experiment. Dare to fail, dare to ask, dare to adjust, and dare to grow. With each step, you'll move closer to your strongest, deepest, and most resilient self. Start today. Life always rewards those who dare to try, dare to learn, and dare to keep moving forward. Conclusion. When you reflect on your journey of finding life's direction, you'll see it's never just about rational choices. It's the sum of self-standing, discipline, big-picture goals, courage to face challenges, the value of sacrifice and small actions, real relationships, detoxing from superstimuli, listening to your conscience and intuition, and constantly learning from failure. Each theme in this article is a key to a life of meaning, resilience, and self-mastery, just as Stoic philosophy has quietly inspired people for thousands of years. Now please rate your satisfaction with this content using the 5-star scale below. 1. Not helpful at all. 2. Some interesting points, but didn't meet my expectations. 3. Decent, gave me the basics. 4. Helpful, practical ideas and inspiration. 5. Excellent, resonated deeply and packed with actionable value. Which will you choose? Comment your rating below and share your reason. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for upcoming videos appearing at the end. Don't miss a single lesson on your Stoic journey with us.